I'm extremely lucky. Some of the pieces I have from time to time are just quite exceptional. And this time, for this masterclass video, it's given me a huge amount of pleasure to look at and talk about and write about this mahogany cabinet. Now, some of you will have seen another video that I did some time ago where I had a very similar piece. And what this illustrates is the difference between this and the previous example that I had. These were individually made for specific clients, and I'll tell you how and why in a minute. This was made by Gillows of Lancaster, who were amongst the very best craftsmen in Britain during the 18th and 19th centuries. So this is by Gillows of Lancaster, and what is it? It's a library cabinet. Just imagine you're one of those incredibly fortunate people to do the Grand Tour in the 1780s. On the Grand Tour you collect all sorts of artifacts, books, pictures, stones, bits of plaster, frescoes, and when you get back and you're at home, you keep all of those in your library, and you've got a big breakfront library bookcase there, and you keep them all in there. And you have in the centre of your library a cabinet, this cabinet. This cabinet you would have used for sitting at and cataloguing and writing about all those wonderful things that you found on the Grand Tour. First of all, though, let me give you a brief synopsis of what this does. It's mahogany, and it has all these wonderful solid brass fittings all the way through. And when we look at this, you have to put yourself into the 18th century in your library and understand what it was all about. It has what we call a double rising top. So it's got a big easel on here, and that comes up like that, and again like that. So you had a surface that was perfect for displaying all your books, manuscripts, pictures and the such like that you'd collected on the Grand Tour, and they would be part and parcel of it. So you'd rest your books on there, and then you'd want to write about the pieces that you were cataloguing. And here we have a secretaire drawer that pulls out with a false front that flaps down. So far, so good. The lock here is stamped J. Brahma, patent with a crown over. Gillows started using these Brahma locks in 1784. We know that from all the documentation in Susan Stewart's wonderful 2 volumes on Gillows. So that gives us a guide to the date of this piece. And then when we look at the Gillows records, we have an illustration here of one that was made by W. Cook, and that is dated from about 1787, and the design for this cabinet is there in plain view. And if we just get that over there, here you have yet another easel. Well, it's looking good so far, but it gets better. That goes down, and you see you've got these little thumb holds here. That's so that when you push this in, you can also then pull it back out using those thumb holes. So retracting that all the way back to there reveals this perfect Gillows interior. I say perfect Gillows because they are known, they're almost famous for having these oval panels inlaid onto these boxes here, and on these the little dividers come out, and there is a space behind there for putting, I don't know, gold coins, diamonds, jewels, badges of office, and that should and does just go back in there. Now, Gillows, when they made these, also included 1 shilling and 6pence for each of these discs, which was for providing secret drawers. And the secret drawers are here. That divider comes out, and lo and behold, behind is a box. Whoops. And the box has got little thumb holes there and there for removing it. On this particular example, it gets even better. Because when you raise that one as well, take that divider out, there we go, then that panel slides forward, comes out, and behind there, if I can just grab hold of it, is yet another box. It really is remarkable. And these have the original little green fabric pulls on there, again, exactly as shown in Susan Stewart's books. So, there we have that, which then has that put in there, which then means that that one also fits in with that and that. Gosh! And it's exactly the same on the other side as well. If you had a cabinet like this in your library, you were a man of position, of wealth. So you might have had beautiful things that you wanted to hide, not from your wife or from your family, but from the servants, from your staff. You wouldn't want them to know your most intimate collections. And this gets better still. If I close that, and then open one of the other drawers, the brass locks on here are all stamped. All the other locks are stamped Stansbury. And again, he was a lockmaker. He had a patent. But the patent he had was not the same as the Brahma lock. The Brahma lock was supposed to be the first really secure lock. If you didn't have the key, then you couldn't open the lock. And then to finish the front off, we have the cupboard there. As you can see, it's got dividers in there for putting folios in. Again, that ties in with being a library piece, a piece that housed a lot of your collection of artifacts from the Grand Tour. This I would date to about 1785. That ties in with the Brahma lock from 1784 onwards. It ties in with William Cook, who was working at Gillows at that time during the 1780s. In fact, I believe he started work at Gillows during the 1760s and went right the way through to the early 19th century. A wonderful, magnificent piece of furniture. Gillows famous for their choice of the most superb materials. The mahogany on this is, as you can see, absolutely outstanding. Everything from the plinth base right the way through. And here's a little thing. Every time they made one of these, they were made to a client's particular requirements. And this one must have had heavy books on here because these adjusters here on the easel are all solid brass, as are the feet on the stands. That would have been extra. So the more little details you have on a piece like this, the more expensive it would have been, the more exclusive it would have been. And that's why when we talk about these desks, these library secretaire cabinets, there is a family of them that were made by Gillows for various wealthy people. In fact, one of them is in Abbotsford and was acquired by Sir Walter Scott, the famous writer, the author. And there are others. There's one at Tatton Park as well. And they're all slightly different. They're all variations on a theme. Gillows reckoned that this was the finest work that they could produce. And that was their own words. There we have it. The finest that Gillows could produce. So now we've turned the piece around and you can see the back of it. Here we go, beautifully made, with that panel there reflecting what you see on the front. And again, all these original brass handles, so that this really made an impression. When your peer group came to see you in your library, they'd walk into the library, take one look at this and go, wow, it has that factor. Not only does it have that factor, but Gillows, having made one of these and charged £35 for making it, yeah, well, I don't know what that would be in today's currency, but having made this, it was supplied to the client, and visitors to the client's home would then contact Gillows and order one for themselves. And there are several people who are recorded in the Gillows records as having done exactly that. And in Susan Stewart's books, we get to see exactly the inlay on the inside of the drawer in both of these photographs, with the little green tabs on the secret or private drawers, as they called them. And you'll notice that the double easel top now works as well with the desk on the other side as it did when you were sitting at the front. So we've got these books here, and as I said to you, we've got the sketch by Gillows that he gave to William Cook to make this desk, or one very similar to it. And in Susan's book lists William Cook was paid by Gillows in January and July 1774 for work completed. He was listed in the purchase ledgers 1773 to 77, 1780 to 82, and so on and so on. Cook also signed the wage agreement in 1785 with 33 other workmen. So there's a little bit of the history of Gillows in there as well. What a wonderful piece of furniture. There is no way that this could have been improved on, and that's why Gillows said it was their very best work. Here you have what is really the ultimate library secretaire cabinet. And to have something where you can take one look at it and say, that's by Gillows, to be able, with certainty, to be able to say that is pretty good stuff. I said at the very beginning how much fun I'd had finding this, researching it, even restoring it. What you don't see, though, is some of the insides of this. Hidden away on that big drawer on the front, when you pull it out, are rollers underneath, metal rollers to make sure that it does come out evenly. The same with the retracting slide with those little thumb holes. That's got little casters on the top edges to make sure that it goes in and out easily at all times. The technology, the sheer genius of Gillows, the way that they made things, nothing would have been too much trouble. We're fortunate to have the Gillows records, those sketches, those workbooks that are all in the Westminster Central Library, and they are there for us all to benefit from and to look at. The research goes on, and I can't tell you how happy I am to have supplied so many of the images for Susan Stewart's books in the past. Thank you. It's been an exciting journey with this desk, and I hope that you've enjoyed the ride.